The Imane Khelif situation is a really troubling one for a bunch of reasons. The main reason to me, and the reason why I'm even making a video about this, is because it's so sad where things are right now in society. When something pops up, the first thing that people want to do is just be outraged instead of like, let's actually look at the evidence. Now, in this video, we're actually going to be looking at the evidence that suggests that Imane Khelif is probably a biological male. But again, the reason why I was even interested in this in the first place is because of the way that people were responding to it. Like, let's look at, as an example, how Charlie Kirk started talking about this issue. This was back on August 1st. Enough of the gender insanity and the pandering to avoid hurting someone's precious feelings. The Olympics just allowed a biological man, Imane Khelif, to pummel Italian Olympian Angela Carini. I very much doubt that he was aware of the information that we're going to go through. So people were just sort of knee-jerk reacting to the way that this person looks and then inferring that, oh, this must be a man, this must be, a lot of other people were even claiming that this was a transgender individual. So, but this is the sort of reaction that we were getting from people on this side of the issue. Now, on the other side, we can see here Dan McClellan, who's actually a theologian. He's got a PhD in theology and religion. So he says Imane Khelif is a cis woman who has lost several fights to other cis women. I'm not really sure what the importance of that part is, because losing a fight to a woman doesn't make you a woman. And it also doesn't mean that it's safe for you to fight other women just because you have lost to other women. But so anyways, he goes on to say, and lives in a country where it's illegal to transition, which that doesn't really help us at all. Like, just knowing that someone can't transition doesn't help anything. Some women have elevated testosterone levels. Calling her a biological man is bigoted and idiotic. Okay, so on both sides of this, we're seeing people who are just outraged and reacting immediately. I mean, there's a lot more examples we could go through. Brian Krasenstein, I don't know if that's the way you say his name. Facts. Khelif is not transgender or transsexual. Khelif is a biological woman. How do you know this? In Algeria, the country that Khelif represents, transgender identity is prohibited, as is changing sex or gender and medical or hormonal treatments to transition to another sex. What we're about to see is that there's a lot of information. This whole case is very complex. There's a lot of moving parts, and there's a lot of information that just people did not know about, including myself. And we're actually going to employ the help of philosopher Dr. Thomas Bogardus in this video. We're also going to help inquire the help of ChatGPT to help us break down some of these concepts that we're about to learn. Yeah, the reactions from people were just insane, absolutely insane. But before we move on, I want to remind Christians how are we supposed to react to these sorts of cultural issues? So let's look at Colossians 3:12. Put on then as God's chosen ones, holy and beloved, compassionate hearts, kindness, humility, meekness, and patience. And then in verse 14, and above all, put on love, which binds everything together in perfect harmony. So I can't really speak for the non-Christians here, but for Christians, we need to do a whole lot better of expressing love. Even if you think you're right about something, we've got to do a better job of expressing love in the situation. So in trying to answer the question of whether Imane Khelif is a biological male or a biological female, there's some really interesting facts about this case that sort of just show us that this case is super complex, and there's a whole lot going on here that like most people don't know about. And so people who are jumping to conclusions immediately were doing so based on very limited information. Now, that's not to say that we have all the information now, but it is to say that the information people were going on back on August 1st was insufficient, and it blows my mind that people were so willing to make these kind of conclusions based on what they knew at that time. So, but here are some of the interesting facts about this case. So number one, Imane grew up female. So he was dressed as a female. He identifies still to this day as a female, apparently. Like that, there's no change in that at all. Number two, it's illegal to transition in Algeria. So transitioning from one gender to another is completely prohibited. Legally, you can't do that in Algeria. So interesting fact. Number three, he has a very masculinized appearance. Let me go ahead and pull up this tweet from Piers Morgan. If this is a biological female, I'm a biological aardvark. That might actually be the case for Piers Morgan. But the point here is that when you look at images like this does appear to be a biological male. The muscles seem to be big, broader shoulders, obviously lack of breasts. So that's number 3. Number 4 is that Imane Khelif has XY chromosomes. So let's actually look at this post from user Pagliacci the Hated, where this person goes through and responds to some of the claims that people have made. So L and K, he's talking about Lynn and Khelif, have female ID. Khelif and Lynn are not believed to be transgender, and Redux Mag made that very clear in our July 28 article. They are believed to be impacted by a difference of sexual development in which there is a developmental abnormality in secondary sex characteristics. So the specific diagnosis that we're going to be looking at and talking about in this video is something called 5-ARD. We're going to be looking at that in a little bit more detail in just a second. But let's move on to the chromosome bit here. So number 3, the IBA, the International Boxing Association, never said that they had XY chromosomes. Well, in response to this, on March 25th, 2023, IBA President Imane Khelif said that the boxers disqualified at the championship had XY chromosomes. He said this in a statement to TASS News. Now, what's interesting, though, about this is that typically people who are in favor of the definition of a woman that is adult human female don't actually hold that chromosomes determine sex, okay? But what's interesting in the case of someone with 5-ARD is that they actually do produce sperm. So let's now turn to ChatGPT, who's going to help us understand what this condition is. Again, it falls under the umbrella of disorder of sexual development. So explain the 5-ARD condition in terms that a 14-year-old could understand. That was my question to ChatGPT. Sure, 5-ARD or 5-alpha reductase deficiency is a rare condition that affects how a person's body develops, especially before they are born. This is the important part. Our bodies have a set of instructions called genes, which tell our bodies how to grow and develop. One of these genes helps the body turn a hormone called testosterone into another hormone called DHT. DHT is very important for the development of male physical traits, like the growth of male genitalia and other male characteristics. Because of the lack of DHT, people with 5-ARD might be born with genitalia that look different from typical male genitalia. Their genitalia might look like more of a mix between male and female genitalia, or closer to typical female genitalia. In summary, 5-ARD is a condition where the body doesn't make enough of a hormone needed for typical male development, leading to differences in physical traits. So then my question is, a lot of philosophers who are on the sort of like traditional side of defining man and woman will argue that the way that we determine whether or not someone is a male or a female is whether or not under normal conditions they produce either large or small gametes. And so that's the question that I asked ChatGPT. Do individuals with 5-ARD produce small or large gametes? Individuals with 5-alpha reductase deficiency, 5-ARD, produce small gametes, which are sperm cells. And then I asked, so then it seems individuals with 5-ARD are biological males. Yes. Yes, individuals with 5-alpha reductase deficiency are biologically male. They have XY chromosomes, which are typical for males. Again, typical, not necessary. And their bodies produce testosterone and sperm. However, due to the deficiency in converting testosterone to DHT, their external genitalia may not develop in the typical male pattern before birth. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the evidence that suggests Imane Khelif is in fact a male that has this condition 5-ARD. So then I asked, what is the evidence for and against Imane Khelif having 5-ARD? Appearance. Some people have pointed to Khelif's muscular build, deeper voice, and overall physique as indicators of a condition like 5-ARD. And then there have been reports of Khelif facing challenges regarding her eligibility to compete in women's boxing, which could suggest that athletic governing bodies have concerns about her biological characteristics. Evidence against lack of public medical records. There are no publicly available medical records or statements from Khelif or medical professionals confirming that she has 5-ARD. Speculation alone does not constitute evidence, but we're actually going to be looking at evidence that ChatGPT did not include at the beginning of my questioning. So in conclusion, while there is speculation based on her appearance and reported competition eligibility issues, there is no definitive public evidence confirming that Imane Khelif has 5-ARD. And then I said, regarding the eligibility issues on March 25, 2023, IBA President Imane Khelif said that Imane Khelif was disqualified from the championships for having XY chromosomes. How does this impact your overall analysis? And then ChatGPT says, the statement by President Imane Khelif adds significant weight to the argument that Khelif may have an intersex condition like 5-alpha reductase deficiency. Here's how this information impacts the overall analysis. The presence of XY chromosomes is a strong indicator that Khelif is biologically male, which aligns with conditions like 5-ARD. So in summary, while this new information significantly supports the possibility that Khelif has an intersex condition like 5-ARD, it does not provide a definitive diagnosis. It does, however, justify the eligibility concerns and adds a crucial piece of evidence to the analysis. Okay, so here's where it gets very interesting. It is also the case that Imane has a very strong masculinized appearance. Does this rule out other conditions? Here it is. The presence of a strong masculinized appearance in Imane Khelif, along with the information about her having XY chromosomes, narrows down the possible conditions, but does not entirely rule out all other conditions. Individuals with 5-ARD have XY chromosomes and typically develop ambiguous or female-appearing genitalia due to the body's inability to convert testosterone to DHT, which would explain why Imane Khelif was raised as a girl. At puberty, increased testosterone can lead to masculinization, such as deepening of the voice and increased muscle mass, which could explain Khelif's masculinized appearance. In complete AIS, individuals with XY chromosomes are resistant to male hormones, leading to a typically female external appearance without masculinization. However, in partial AIS, some degree of masculinization can occur, but it usually results in a less pronounced masculinization than what seems to be described in Khelif's case. Therefore, AIS is less likely, but not entirely ruled out. Congenital adrenal hyperplasia. Guys, didn't know you were going to be learning about this today, and did I actually? Less likely. CAH can cause masculinization due to an overproduction of androgens, but it usually affects individuals with XX chromosomes. Other intersex conditions, possible but less likely. Other rare intersex conditions could potentially explain the combination of XY chromosomes and masculinization, but they are less common, even less common than 5-ARD, and typically present different than 5-ARD. Impact on overall analysis. Let's just actually skip down to the conclusion here. The strong masculinized appearance combined with the presence of XY chromosomes makes 5-ARD a highly probable explanation for Khelif's condition. While it does not completely rule out all other conditions, it significantly narrows the field, making 5-ARD the most likely diagnosis based on the available evidence. Okay, so why are we talking about this in the first place? Well, I think ultimately it comes down to truth. People, when they first started hearing about this whole controversy, didn't care about the truth. They just wanted to immediately be outraged and defend whatever their tribe happened to believe. And so people were not slowing down and really trying to look at things objectively. There's a lot of verses in the Bible that instruct us to seek truth, but here's one that I love, Proverbs 23:23, buy truth and do not sell it, buy wisdom, instruction, and understanding. So what are you guys doing? Are you buying truth or are you selling truth? What are you guys doing? Let me know what you think about this video in the comments. Hopefully it was helpful, and we'll see you guys in the next video. And remember, Christianity is true.